Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. I'm Jasmin Haley, healthcare provider turned educator, entrepreneur, and startup strategist. Not too long ago, I was burnt out, overwhelmed, depressed, and full of fear from a toxic work environment. I created my business out of necessity to create a legacy I can be proud of today. It helps me transform the lives of women every single day to pursue their dreams and entrepreneurial goals. I created this podcast to share the empowering stories of entrepreneurial women, help you break through self-doubt to your greatness, and share business strategies to help you create a thriving and profitable business. If you are an emerging entrepreneur or business owner that wants to create the mindset needed to escape burnout, reclaim your personal power, and pursue your entrepreneurial dreams, this podcast is for you. Stay tuned and listen in. Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. This is your host, Jasmin Haley, and this episode is sponsored by the Breakthrough to Excellence Network, which is the biz membership that I founded that focuses on helping female entrepreneurs build the confidence, build the construct systems to scale, and learn how to elevate their voice while having a purposeful business that helps them to reach their goal of six figures. So this particular training that I have for you is what I actually give in my free Facebook group. It's called the Breakthrough to Excellence, Side Hustler to CEO. And I come into this group weekly. For this weekly training, I'm sharing the training I did about business boundaries. One of the most difficult things I think I needed to realize when I started my business was the organization that was needed in order for me not to be completely overwhelmed and taken by my business. So in this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you a training that I did about business boundaries, how we can start working towards creating boundaries that fit in our life, and some of the fundamental principles that are necessary to make sure that we stay in alignment with truly who we are and what's most important to us, not only in our business, but also in our life. Hey everyone, this is Jasmin Haley, and I am the host of the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. And our training today for the Breakthrough to Excellence from Side Hustler to CEO Facebook group is all about business boundaries. In fact, the title of this training today is Sis, you better snatch those boundaries, okay? Building business boundaries are absolutely necessary for success. If you follow me on social media, so I'm focusing a lot about mindset and really reevaluating every action that I take. In fact, I just shared recently my opinion now going towards 5 years in business is that business growth is truly a spiritual journey. Okay. It is a spiritual journey that will teach you so much about yourself that you didn't realize. And you have to come to terms with really truly accepting who you are and the person you're becoming, right? So you either accept it or you're going to resist it. And I am leaning towards that. Okay. I've evolved so much as a person because of me starting a business. And in fact, when I started my business, those that don't know my story, I was in a toxic work environment. There was no other job opportunities available at that time. And so I decided to use my God-given strengths to start my business. What I didn't realize was that the entire time in my business, I was using my gut, my intuition, and just going forward and not really realizing that what I was doing as I was creating a recognizable brand was something that was actually working, right? But what happened was I started to be controlled by the everyday task of my business. It became extremely overwhelming. It was running my life nonstop. And it was so hard for me to navigate building a successful business, having my identity as a woman, having my identity as a partner to a spouse, and having my identity as a mother. And for me, I didn't want to sacrifice any of that because I knew that my happiness and peace within my own self was really important for me. And you're going to find that it is for you as well. Many of my clients that coach with me, as we are beginning to get them to a place where they start making strides towards making money in their business, many of them find that they are completely scattered, right? They are uncertain of how to go from point A to Z, and they can't figure out the best way in which they can reduce the overwhelm, right? I, at some point in my business, was so tied down with things that I couldn't even find a simple email. I couldn't find where the last transaction was. I didn't know where I had put this contract. I mean, it was everywhere. And what occurred was that it was extremely difficult for me to bring on an assistant or someone to aid me in the organization of my business and to help me run it because things were in disarray. Okay. So that goes into systems and automation, which is a whole nother conversation. But one part of creating systems and automations in your business is to develop business boundaries. Those boundaries are necessary if you truly want to scale and grow your business. And in fact, I just saw a post from one of my clients that stated that one of the things that you made me realize, Jasmin, was that I was completely disorganized. Yes. And you need some sort of organization. You may not be the best. You may not be the person that someone decides to call when they want to organize their closet, but you've got to organize yourself somehow, right? As a solopreneur, one of the key things that is really important for you as you are growing your business is to understand every aspect of it. So at some point, you're going to dabble in some aspects, but you're also going to delegate them away to someone else to be able to take over them. And it's hard in that delegation if you are not organized, if you have no clue of, what your business represents. So I'm going to be going over some tools that are important for you to keep in mind as you're building your business, and to remember that this is non-negotiable. So like everything I'm telling you right now, when I speak to my clients, this is not something that you can say, oh, well, I'll get it done later. All right. Getting it done later is going to affect the maximum impact you can make in your business. So I want you today to come to the resolve of getting to a place where you are going to make the changes today in your business, because if you want to see success, and whatever that success may be for you, you've got to build some business boundaries. So the first thing I encourage all of my clients before they work with me is to do this. And in fact, I'm actually evolving towards working with clients that have gone a little bit past this point, because I really want to help women reach that six-figure mark in their business. So one of the things that I want you to do is that if you don't have a mission, a vision, or some values that represent what your company is or what it stands for, you need to have that. Because one of the things that will cause you to break and not follow those boundaries is because you're misaligned with your mission, your vision, or the values for your business internally as well for your character, but it will exhibit itself in your business as well. So you've got to have some sort of mission, some vision, and values. I don't care if you are a service provider like a photographer. I don't care if you are building products for people like, candles. I don't care if you're a coach and you're providing, services for marketing. You need to have a mission, vision, and some values in place that are going to be your guide for the interim, wherever that interim is for the next 5 years. Of course, your vision can change over time, but you need to have that. So if you haven't sat down and done that, please take the time to do that today and have a quiet space. And again, it doesn't have to be a full out drawn business plan that you're going to go take to some sort of bank in order to get a loan. You're not going to be doing all of that. At this point, you need to have something written, because when you have something written, that's how it becomes embedded in you. And as you start bringing in people to work for you, that is the documentation you're going to share with them. Because in order to build boundaries in your business that last, you have to be building a team that also agrees to follow that mission, that vision, and the values in your business. Okay. So that's the first thing. And you're probably like, oh, I was waiting for her to give me an app. I was waiting for her to give me this and that. No, we start with the bottom core of who you are and what you represent within your business. Okay. And that will allow you to find ways in which to align those boundaries. And those boundaries are there to serve to protect your space, your time, which is extremely important, but also help you scale and grow your business. You can't grow your business, bring in more revenue in your business, more profit, bring in more team members, get to a place if you so desire, which is to replace your income with your side hustle. You can't get to that place without boundaries. Like one of the fundamental things that I see so many times with the women that I have coached who have come on as clients, or whether they called me for a strategy call. Many of you don't have boundaries, and you've got to get that in place. Okay. So now that you've taken the time, okay, you can put this on pause, come back and listen to the rest. But really, you really shouldn't be moving forward until you truly understand what your mission is, what your vision is, and the values that are important for you in your business. None of this matters if you aren't clear on that. Got it? All right. So, pause and get that written down. Share with me if you want to share, okay? Share it with me. Send me a DM. I would love to know if you have finished with that. All right, so now that we've gotten clear on what your mission and your vision is and your values, which are important for you to make sure you stay in alignment, and also for any team members that you bring on, now we can start talking about ways in which you can start building those boundaries. The first thing that I want you to focus on is your calendar. What in the world is going on with your calendar? Okay. If your calendar is only there to occupy what your kids are doing, what your mate is doing, what everybody in their life is doing, you need to section out a portion of your calendar that is just for you. So I do share my calendar. My calendar is available to anyone that has the same network community email address, so they could actually see what's in my calendar. But your calendar is so very important. Your calendar has to include some time for yourself. It has to include the time for each segment of your business. So there needs to be time for marketing. There needs to be time for podcasting if you're doing that. There needs to be time for sales. There needs to be time for, what else do we have on there? Content creation, which is a part of marketing. What else do I make time for? I make time for anything that goes on in my life. In fact, a friend of mine said to me, hey, let's, catch up. I'm like, cool. Can you call me at Sunday at 6:00? Not her call me. I'll call you at Sunday at 6:00, and I'll put it on my calendar. Right. And she was like, she joked on me because she said, oh my gosh, Jazz, like I have to get on your calendar in order to make it work now. And I'm like, well, it's that serious. It's that bad for me right now, between homeschooling and handling my business and my job and everything that was going on in my plate. It was so hard for me to make sure I made time, right? And again, time really is up to us, right? Because we prioritize what's important to us. So what's important to you needs to be established on your calendar. You need to set off blocks of time. So let's just say that your day, which most people who have run successful businesses, starts at 5 a.m. Today I woke up around 5:30, 5:45. I did hit the snooze though, okay? So if your day begins at that time, what is the first thing that you're doing? Are you meditating? Are you reading a Bible scripture? Are you praying? Are you setting up some time for you to do some exercising? Okay. Are you getting some emails done at that time? Or what are you doing? So I had a small window of time before my kids got up, and I needed to make sure I was finished, clothed, washed, and everything before my youngest started school, right? So I needed to wake up early enough to handle all of that. Is that section out in your calendar? Okay. Are you taking the time the Sunday, right, which is the start of your week, to see how am I going to spend my time, right? If you notice that you said that you were going to spend 2 hours today on a blog writing for your business or podcast creation for your business and it never got done, where did the time go? Were you scrolling on a Instagram, were you answering emails, checking your emails nonstop? There's a lot of things that distract us. And unless we control our calendar, we are going to find that we are easily taken from here to there based on other people's needs. So you need to be very intentional about where you spend your time and where is it going to be. So for me, last week before I had vacation, I started losing focus because I was exhausted. All right. I was overwhelmed and I needed a break. And so what happened was I started not honoring the time that I set for myself to get things done. I started pissing it off because I just wanted to watch some TV or do something because I was overly tired, right? And so normally when there's signs within your own self that lets you know that it's time for you to pause. There's a time to pause as well. And I took that time to pause in order to feel clearer about the direction that I'm going. So I'm very systematic in everything that I do. It's necessary because I have team members that rely on me. I have an executive assistant. I like that title. I may change that. I'll see what she thinks about it. But I had an assistant, Bianca, who's amazing. I have a editing assistant, Erin. I have a podcast manager, and I'm going to be hiring a community manager in the next few days. Okay. So by next week, I'll have a new community manager. These people rely on me being focused. I can't provide them what they need if I'm all over the place, if I don't have boundaries. So controlling your calendar really is that first step of making sure you set that time for each of those valuable parts of your business and for your personal life. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is establishing guidelines. So in your business, what kind of relationships do you establish in your business? Do you work with contractors, independent contractors? Do you work with clients? There needs to be very clear guidelines. So one of the most important ways in which you can establish those guidelines is in the contractual agreements. You have got to get hooked up with some sort of lawyer or some sort of person that has that background that can help you with establishing that. And there's plenty. If you want to have any particular questions about that, DM me. All right. So there's non-disclosure agreements. There are non-competes. There are contracts for clients. There are ways of communication that you want to have established in those contracts for your clients in order to work with you. Even when you're looking at your speaker contracts, if you're into speaking, those are all guidelines that can be utilized in order to protect your peace of mind and your mindset. And so that you're not getting into working relationships with individuals where you don't have a clear understanding of the expectations that will move forward. And so those expectations will save you a lot of heartache by being very clear and open in your communication with that. So again, there are lawyers out there that actually create these templates for you for people that are service providers. I have my preference. I can always share with you what those are via DM if you have any questions about that, if you're stuck in that area. But those guidelines that you establish are so important to what it is that you do in your business, which are boundaries. And those boundaries will be honored if it's written out properly. I have heard some horror stories. I have seen clients that have worked with people that were not clear with these guidelines. And what happens is this leads to a lot of heartache, a lot of struggles that could have been easily avoided if those boundaries are established at the very beginning. And those expectations will save a lot of time for you on your part. All right. The next thing I want to say is email. All right. So one of the key things that used to really take up a lot of my time was email. Email was the death of me. Okay. I just feel like because I was handling my own email, then I had the business email, then I had a like kind of customer service type of email. And there was times where I didn't have an assistant. So I'm handling that. I'm handling all of these things running at me constantly. And it just seemed like it never ended. It just never ended. So I set a select time for when I check my email. This is when I'm going to check my email. Now, some people check it only, once a week. Some people check it 2 times a week, 3 times a week. I don't know if you've ever read The 4-Hour Work Week. Some people don't even check it for, an extended period of time. That's up to you, is choosing what works best for you, right? There are people that say you need to be checking it more regularly, which I do believe, especially in the beginning, if you first starting a brand and there's some contacts who want to contact you and who want to work with you. It could be a turnoff if they can't reach you. However, it also doesn't mean that you have to be tied down by your email. Some of us feel like we have to be ongoing forever and ever and ever, and we never get a break, right? And so one of the ways in which you can protect that is by setting the expectations for the people that contact you. You can set up a vacation settings if you want that gives them an automated message on when to expect a reply back from you, or whom to contact if they want an immediate reply, or if you know, won't be able to reply back for the next 24 to 48 hours, whatever it is. I know mine is at least 1 to 2 days. There are some days that I just can't get to someone right away. I'll try my very best. I know that there are some more urgent matters that come back, but I give myself at least a 2-day window just to give me a little bit of cushion if there's a crisis happening with my family or my children. That gives me that breathing room, right? So it lets me know that at 5 o'clock at the evening, I don't have to stay on if I don't want to. And one way in which you can protect that is not only can you send them an automated message, but G Suite with the actual business G Suite, not the regular Gmail, but the business G Suite or Google Suite allows you to be able to send messages to people. It allows you to create templates, but it also allows you to send messages and schedule them. So if I happen to be working at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, I can just make sure that it schedules to send the next day. Because one way in which you want to make it clear about your boundaries is that, hey, if you want people to know, I only answer my emails Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 24 to 48 hour, window of time. And that if they send you something on Saturday, you're not going to reply to Monday. It's important to make sure that if you happen to be working on a Saturday, that you schedule it during the normal business hours. Because if you appear to people that these are your guidelines and they see that you're willing to deviate, because people will push up against those boundaries that you typically will make, then that will make it harder for you to enforce the boundaries that you set up in the long run, because it doesn't seem like you have integrity. It doesn't seem like you're willing to observe the boundaries that you're setting. So I'm not always perfect with that. I don't want you to beat yourself up, but just remember, especially now that I'm homeschooling now, I'm definitely not perfect with that. There are times where I may have to be working at night, where before, just a year ago, I refused to, right? But when it comes to replying back, use some of the features that are set up in G Suite if you have a professional email to help provide a little bit more support for you. Another way in which you can make an automated response is by using Zapier. Zapier is a great way to connect different apps together. So as soon as someone sends you an email, instead of having vacation settings on, you can zap them real quick with the Zapier, which will, as soon as someone sends you an email, the Zap will send them the email that lets them know your boundaries. That's if you don't want to deal with the annoying, in vacation now that is typically at the top. All right. One more. I've got one more thing that I wrote here. You need to also pre-schedule your vacation. In about 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so, I'm going to be visiting a friend, having a good time, just enjoying ourselves. I want you to make sure that you take that time as well. It's so easy to forget to take care of ourselves. So you don't always have to have a win in business to go off and go and do something on your own, or go and, do something that makes you happy. Pre-schedule that time and let your clients know, let your team know that you're taking that time, and what your expectations are during that time, so that you can honor that space, because we all have to have time for pause and rest. You'll find that as you're starting your business, is so very easy for you. Run. You'll find out that you're working more hours than when you were working a regular 9 to 5. And it's so very easy for you to forget that time to pause and rest. So quarterly, if you can, quarterly, take a weekend or two off if you want to. A day of rest of what have you is so important. The systems and the automations and the boundaries are put in place so that you don't get overwhelmed and you don't feel like you want to quit, your business, or you will get to a point where you lack so much clarity that it could ultimately affect your business success. And then finally, I want to tell you this. I give you permission to do those boundaries, okay? I give you permission to create those boundaries because you are worthy and you're deserving of all things. Sometimes as women, we need to have someone remind us that, hey, it's okay if you decide to set boundaries. Guess what? People are still going to come. Guess what? People are still going to want to hear from you. They're going to respect you. And there's so many of us that fear setting up those business boundaries, thinking that, oh man, this is going to affect my following. This is going to affect my business. They feel like I'm too harsh. And I'm telling you, yes, there may be some people that may feel that way, but they'll learn very quickly. And they're more than likely, they're not supposed to be a part of your community. One of the things I mentioned as a way of controlling my calendar is and I forgot to mention this, is I use a call scheduler. So I started off with You Can Book Me, and now I'm using Calendly. And with Calendly, when people want to speak with me, they have to book through this. There are times where I text, but they have to book with me through this because I only take calls at a certain time of day. And that helps me with my productivity. I'm able to work more efficiently. Well, I had given this call schedule that I had been using for about 3 years to a woman, and she wound up seeing me at a conference. I was there and I was presenting some secondary research I had done on the community that I was passionate about. And so she came up to me and she said, "Hey, I'm X, Y, and Z." I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm so glad to meet you. It's so great to meet you in person." And one of the first things she told me was, when you sent me your calendar schedule to talk, my first reaction was, who does she think she is? Now, I'm a probably like 30-year difference, close to 30-year difference or 20-year difference between she and I, okay? So I'm her junior by that amount of time. And I said, oh man, I, want to make clear to you that I do that so that I make sure I have time with my family. I'm able to eat dinner with them if I desire. I don't have to be on the clock all the time. And so she was kind of taken back by that. She was like, you know what? I really appreciate that. Because when I was in my business, I was taking phone calls at the dinner table. It was ringing nonstop. So it's interesting now that we have these type of technology and applications available to us so that we can protect our time more. And so this lady revealed that she wasn't always perfect in that, and we aren't all, right? And at that time, there was no Calendly or You Can Book Me at that time when she started her business. But those boundaries, people will push up against them. They will be people that say to you, who do you think you are? Right? But you have to come to the terms with the final thing that I said to you, was understanding that you're worthy, understand that you're deserving of all things, and that you are deserving to create a safe space for you to be able to prosper personally, business wise, career wise. And then in turn, that will help bring a better life for you, your loved ones, and everyone else that you encounter. So I'm going to run through really quickly again. I have them written here so I didn't forget any of them. The first step is, I want you to get very clear about your mission, vision, and values in your business. And I know you're thinking, what does that have to do with boundaries? It has everything to do with boundaries. You need to be clear on that, because being clear on the culture that you're developing in your business will help you establish that same criteria with new people that you bring in, okay? Your team, because it's going to take a village to grow your brand. Your team will understand your mission, your vision, and your values. And when anything is out of alignment with that, you will chop it off, okay? Because that will bring clear boundaries within your business. When you're clear on that, it will also help your people, your team members who are clear on your mission and vision and your values, be able to help maintain that in your business to reduce the overwhelm. After you do that, I want you to control your calendar, control every aspect in your calendar and what you're doing in a day. Section off blocks of time for what you need in order to take care of yourself, as well as the other needs in your business. You will set up time for when you're going to answer your email. You're going to set up time on when you're going to do phone calls. You're going to set up time for any of your marketing, which is your content creation, your podcast creation, whatever it is for your business to keep it running. You have to block off that time. If you don't do it, you're going to find yourself going down the rabbit hole of being controlled by everyone else's needs. You need to establish guidelines contractually with every person that you interact with, whether it's an NDA, a non-compete, contracts for clients. What else do I have here? Ways that you communicate with your clients, any speaker contracts, any sponsorship things that you have established. All of that needs very clear guidelines. If you're getting in relationships with people, working relationships with people without the expectations that are very clear, you will not honor your business boundaries very well. In fact, you will create more headaches. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to find ways to protect your email by automating responses on it. I've shared some ways in which you can. Remember, this is going to stay in the group, so you'll be able to go back and listen to it. Automate those email messages. You do not need to be available 24/7 via email. Turn those notifications off and pre-schedule your vacation. Pre-schedule your time for pause and rest, because that has a direct relation on your business success. All right, y'all, that's it. So I will see you all next week. Let me know what you're interested in learning about, and tell me what boundaries you have currently in your business or what you would like to implement. Bye. Thanks for tuning into the show. Dive in deeper by visiting the show notes for this episode or listening to more episodes on JasminHaley.com. If you found value in the show, share with a friend or leave us a review. I'll see you next time.